Hello and welcome, beloved, to the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you are moving into living your best life. I don't know why. I don't know if it's me, but all these bamboos, they all, Anyway, let me stop. Let me just get to the point. Thanks to every single person that has supported us on our Patreon accounts. Really appreciate, love each and every one of you. Go ahead and consider supporting us by joining our Patreon family for as little as $2 a month. Also consider supporting us through a PayPal donation. We appreciate, love each and every one of you as we continue to bring you the pertinent news from across Africa. Africa. Africa is awakening. It's not business as usual in Africa, and there's much going on despite the global pandemic that seems to have been an epic distraction for everyone and seems to have taken everyone's attention. There is a lot happening on the continent, and recently this was really interesting. South Sudan actually announced that they had stopped the construction of I want to call it a Chinese highway, which was supposed to go from Juba all the way to the Lake States, which borders Uganda. But what happened is that, the Minister of Roads actually stopped the project because they said that the Chinese construction company was actually, producing something very shoddy, very low quality. So it's been suspended. Let me not say stopped, because they did try and say, we haven't stopped it, but we've suspended it, hoping that the Chinese company will raise their capacity. We've been experiencing really heavy rains across the Horn of Africa, and so during that time, part of this road was actually swept away by floods. That's crazy. And the road had actually been earmarked all the way in 2014, because South Sudan is literally the size of like France, but they only have 100 kilometers of road. So they have been trying to build a road that build up their infrastructure. And of course, the Chinese, just always trying to be there, trying to build infrastructure so that they can get the oil and get whatever other riches South Sudan has, but mainly the oil. And so this project started in 2014, and it was all flowery. It was supposed to change the lives of South Sudan. At the opening, the minister said, in South Sudan, we want to achieve peace through road development, and all of us, and we must work for it. But now there seems to be an interesting turn of events, and you've got to respect the South Sudanese government for doing this. But the question of quality, especially with a lot of the Chinese construction works, not just in Africa, but across the world, has always been blatantly there. And a lot of people have seen that, if you look at their bridge road network, which is literally the Silk Road network of back in the day, you will see that their roads go straight from the diamond mines, the gold mines, the oil fields to China. It's not really taking into consideration, the people, the social kind of infrastructure of the people and building cities. No, all these are just highways, sometimes into nowhere. And these highways are not free, because a 392-kilometer project, which was supposed to connect to Uganda as well through the Equatoria region, it actually was going to cost the government $700 million. Some of that money has been borrowed. We never know in Africa what money has been borrowed, what interest is being paid. But it's good to see that this is being suspended. And it shows you, as much as it's not business as usual in Africa, it's not business as usual for China in Africa. And from here on out, China's going to have a really hard time doing any kind of business in Africa, especially after what we saw, the racial discrimination of Africans and Chinese and the poor way it was managed. Then China confirmed to us that our governments were puppet presidents. But let's not forget the case of Malaysia, where, one government sold their soul to China, and then the next government came, changed the constitution, and took their soul back. We're going to see a lot of that happening in Africa. Until next time, tuko pamoja. Tuko pamoja. welcome to Africa 101, a show that explains everything that is of concern to Africa. Who we are as a people, why we are the way we are, where we're headed, where we're coming from, and in particular, all the things that, all the misconceptions and stories that they have about Africa. Thanks to every single person that has subscribed to the channel. Thanks to everybody that supports us through our PayPal. Thanks for all the donations and everyone who supports us through the Patreon. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Now, there's something that has been on everybody's mind, on everybody's lips. People keep talking about it. The great revival of the African people. And so I wanted to come today and just explain to you, because people are saying, will the revival happen? Maybe someone is looking for, someone to, an external being to do it. But really, the revival is already happening. And the reason it's happening is because it's happening on a spiritual level. As much as I totally believe Yeshua shall return, I also feel that the Yeshua in us, the Son of God in us, the Messiah in us, is also awakening to save us from this, demonic, hellish world that was created by our greatest adversary, Lucifer. And so I just wanted to first of all give you the breakdown of the Trinity of Self and how we are a triune being. We've got 3 dimensions to us. We're operating in 3 dimensions. And as people get more aware and tap into the spirit world more and tap into Source more, the Most High Creator more, then they expand their levels. But basically we are triune beings. We're a spiritual being using a soul to have a physical experience. And this is how it looks. So as you can see, the spirit is at the heart, and that is like the sun. That is, you can call it the Son of God, the Son of the Creator. And it is at the center of our being. That's where all our power comes from. That's where our life source comes from. That's where, everything, our life source, our power, our spiritual knowledge and our connection to Source. It powers everything. It powers our entire system. So that is the heart of who we are. And the importance of spirit is that when there's a death, or when something dies, or when someone dies, it's basically because this power source has left the body or has been disconnected from the body. That's how death occurs, but those are stories for other days. So out of the spirit being, which is the sun, which is the power source, we have the soul. And the reason the soul, I put it as a triangle, is because the soul is our mind and our emotions and our will. So, we have our will, and our will is basically connected to our spirit. Hope I'm not losing you guys. Is connected to our spirit, so everything channels down. And then we have our emotions and our mind, which are at the same level. And our mind is basically, a lot of people like to think of it here. Our mind is our operating system. It's like our computer software, that makes all the decisions of just our daily life, but also our creative decisions, our decisions of whether to love or hate, all kinds of complex decisions, from the most basic actually to the complex decisions that happen here. But it uses the memory and the feedback from our entire body, or this entire physical vehicle. And then we have our emotions, and our emotions is basically here. It's our heart. It's the center of us. And our emotions, our heart also has a mind of its own. I don't know if you've ever heard that. And there's a lot of phrases in Proverbs which say, out of the heart springs forth life. And the emotions are basically the energy to fuel our ideas. And so our ideas alone cannot manifest, but they need that will as well as that emotion to manifest. And lastly, we have our vehicle, which is our vehicle, our body. And our body is basically a square. As you can see, it holds our soul and our spirit inside, but it's also our license to operate here, and it's also our vehicle that helps us to move around with our soul and with our spirit and to do things. So it's our license on earth, and the reason it's a box is because it's our limited reference for operating in this. We really can't do much on earth unless you really get to the next level and ascend. We really can't do much unless it's coming out of, unless it's done from this. And so you can see that this is kind of our frame of reference. This is kind of our limited area of moving.